The 4-year mark. That's when the universe decided to play its cruelest joke. 4 years of marriage to Liam, and his college sweetheart, Summer, blows back into town, freshly divorced and looking for a second act. As if that wasn't enough, I get the diagnosis: terminal pancreatic cancer. Less than 6 months. For almost 5 years, I'd played the role of the perfect wife, the dutiful spouse, the woman who had Liam's back, always. And I would keep playing it until the very end. The flimsy diagnostic sheet felt like a death sentence in my hand. I stood outside the hospital, the late afternoon sun bleeding across the sky, painting everything in shades of blood orange. My thumb hovered over Liam's name in my contacts. The moment I pressed call, his voice, as always, was low and distant. Yet there was a softness when he said my name. MIA. I've got something tonight. Won't be home for dinner. Might be late. Get some sleep, okay? All the words I wanted to scream, to plead, to break free, choked in my throat. Okay, I managed, flat and dismissive. The line went dead, but I didn't hang up. The dial tone hummed in my ear, a mocking lullaby. 4 years. 4 years of being Mrs. Liam Stone. Almost a decade of loving him. I was the lucky one, they said. Liam, hounded by his family to settle down, met me. Decent looks, stable job, a perfect match for a convenient marriage. He needed a wife, and I fit the bill. He was always a fortress, quiet, unreadable, emotionless. For 2 years, I chipped away at that ice, waiting for him to melt. And he did. We started living like a real couple, arguing about groceries, sharing quiet mornings, almost living the dream. Almost. Today, that dream shattered. Pancreatic cancer. And just my luck, today was also the day Summer came home. That's why he'd cut me off, rushed to meet her. I didn't eat. Just sat in the living room, waiting. The room swallowed the light, growing darker, inkier. The click of the front door jolted me awake. Liam, careful, quiet. Then the sudden flood of light. We locked eyes. He paused, then his brows furrowed. Why aren't you in bed? Still up? Nope, just dozed off, I lied, forcing a smile. Heard you, woke up. He grunted, his face unreadable. I took his jacket. The familiar scent of sandalwood, now laced with roses. Summer's favorite. On the day I found out I was dying, my husband was driving around, picking up his first love. I wanted to ask, but the words felt hollow. What was there to say? What was there to want? The next morning, I was up early, just like any other day, making Liam's breakfast. He had a sensitive stomach. I'd nursed him through weeks in the hospital once. Doctors and nurses all praised me. What a good wife he had. He just looked at me from his hospital bed, his eyes distant. Then finally, when we were alone, he said, "The nurses could do this, too. You don't have to go through so much trouble." My hands, peeling an apple, faltered. The skin broke. It's not the same, I'd argued, my voice tight. What a lie. It was exactly the same. But who doesn't want to take care of the person they love? How is it not the same? You're my husband, I'd said, a desperate plea hidden beneath the words. His stomach issues never really went away, so I made it my mission to regulate his diet. He was a workaholic, always forgetting to eat. I made him breakfast every morning, even if he sometimes left before I finished. I'd bring him lunch at the office. If I was too busy, I'd send a text, a reminder to eat. 2, 3 years, it became a routine. Like waking up early. Today, he was up even earlier. I hadn't even had a chance to fix his tie when he grabbed his lunchbox and hurried out. At the door, he paused, turned back. His blank face softened, like sunlight melting ice. I'm heading out, May. Drive safe. Just like 1,000 mornings before. That afternoon, I had a sudden whim to bring Liam lunch. I didn't tell him. The receptionist at his office knew me, waved me right up. I'd been to Liam's office so many times. He'd introduced me, casually. This is my wife. That old-fashioned title, carrying the weight of centuries, made me believe we could last forever. But life loves its little games. First, the dream. Then, the shattering. Then, the ugly reality. I saw him, standing with Summer, the woman he'd known forever. In her hand, my lunchbox. The one I'd made him breakfast in. Summer hadn't changed, still that same college girl look, long hair, a seemingly innocent smile. "Thanks, Liam. Breakfast was delicious." "No problem," he said, taking the lunchbox back. Summer caught sight of me. Her face lit up, eyes curving like crescent moons. "MIA. Long time no see." She rushed towards me, reaching for my hand, then noticed the lunchbox in my hand. Her smile faltered. "Oh, did you bring Liam lunch? Did you make his breakfast too? I'm so sorry, I had low blood sugar this morning. Liam saw and just gave it to me. If I'd known it was yours, I wouldn't have eaten it." She looked at me, an apologetic smirk playing on her lips. "But I have to say, May, you're an amazing cook." Of course, I was. Liam's picky, and his stomach is a mess. I'd learned to cook for him. He knew that. I smiled back at her, my nails digging into my palm behind my back. In that moment, beyond the anger, a searing, bitter unfairness erupted. And in that moment, my plan began to form, clear and sharp. Liam wouldn't cheat. Even with Summer back, I'd still play the part of the devoted wife. The chains of morality, of responsibility, would bind him. I just didn't know who would break first, him or me. That night, he came home with a gift, a sparkling pink diamond, intricately designed, obviously expensive. It was beautiful. I didn't want it. I rarely wore jewelry, only for formal events with Liam. He wasn't one for words, but I knew this was his apology, his compensation for the morning. I smiled, took the box. His expression softened. I wondered if he was happy I wasn't upset, or if he was relieved I wasn't angry at Summer. I put the box in a drawer, went to bed, closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. He came to bed, lay beside me, that familiar sandalwood scent enveloping me. He carefully pulled me into his arms, his warmth seeping through my thin nightgown. I kept my eyes closed, breathing evenly until he was asleep. But I was wide awake. The discomfort in my upper abdomen grew heavier. I opened my eyes. Moonlight sliced through the window, painting the floor silver. I stared at it a long, long time, until the world felt utterly silent, just me. It was then, almost like an afterthought, that I remembered I was dying. The next morning, after Liam left for work, my phone buzzed. A reminder. Today was my mother's visiting day. My parents divorced when I was little. My father never loved my mother. He'd had a secret family, a daughter older than me. My mother raised me alone, so I'd promised myself I'd study hard. But I was unlucky. I became a target for bullies. Maybe it was how I dressed, or a careless word. I never dared tell my mother. The teachers couldn't control them. The more I fought back, the worse they got. One day, I was surrounded, taunted. I'd learned to toughen up, to build walls with their stones, to ignore them. The ringleader, her eyes filled with scorn, stared at me, as if about to deliver a verdict. Then Liam appeared. He was smart. He knew this wasn't a one-time thing. He had a strong sense of protection, stepping in front of me, shielding me. We survived 3 years of high school together, safe. That's why I chased after him, no matter what, got into the same university, tried to be better, to be worthy of standing beside him. But I was always a step behind. Just as he was my light, he found his own, Summer. My half-sister. I brought some things to my mother. She had a new family now. I sat for 10 minutes, exchanged a few polite words, then said my goodbyes. On the way home, from the taxi, I saw them at the entrance to my neighborhood. Summer and Liam, walking side by side, laughing. My usually reserved husband, his lips curved, a soft smile in his eyes. I froze, watching them, laughing, talking. A scruffy stray dog suddenly darted from the bushes, barking at Summer. They stopped. She reached out to pet it, but the dog growled, lunging at her leg. She shrieked, burying herself in Liam's arms. He caught her, his hand briefly resting on her hip before quickly pulling away. He turned his head and saw me. Summer was quicker. MIA. I walked slowly towards them. Summer was about to speak, but I beat her to it. I bent down, picking up the scruffy dog. It trembled, burrowing into my arms, but didn't struggle. "Liam," I said, looking at him, smiling. "I want to keep him." The air turned instantly cold. I just smiled. "I'm keeping him." Liam came with me to the vet. The dog had old wounds, a cracked bone, scrapes on its belly, countless small injuries. But it was so quiet, so well behaved, letting the vet examine it, just lying there silently. Liam looked at me, as if he wanted to say something, but didn't. Not until we were home. I named the dog Nian. Year. Like the years that passed. The atmosphere in the house was thick, unmoving. Liam didn't speak. I stayed silent. We went to bed. A soft orange light bathed the room, making it warm. I sat on the bed as Liam, in his pajamas, came in. The warm light softened his features. He never showed his emotions. When he did smile, it was just a slight curve of his lips, like a fleeting flower, gone in an instant. I didn't know how much he truly cared for me. All these years, I'd believed he'd fallen for me, even a little. But those thoughts became a joke the moment Summer returned. "Liam," I said, suddenly. He looked up, his expression innocent, distant. "What is it? Do your words still count?" "What words?" "That I'm your wife. That you'll treat me well, forever." I smiled at him. He suddenly lowered his gaze. "Why are you asking this, out of the blue?" he murmured. "No reason. Just remembered." A dull ache pulsed in my upper abdomen, growing sharper, twisting, a coil of nerves tightening in my head. Just as he answered, the lights in the room clicked off. His warm, masculine breath fell onto my cheek, a soft kiss. "Good night, MIA." His breathing deepened, becoming steady. I carefully slipped out of his embrace, turning to face him. In the moonlight, I traced his face, inch by inch, from his eyelashes to his chin. Liam wouldn't cheat. But no matter where he went, his thoughts would always drift to Summer. I suddenly wondered how Liam would feel after I died, remembering this moment. The day I left the hospital, clutching that diagnostic paper, my mind raced, a tangled ball of yarn. One of the first thoughts, what would Liam do after I died? Would he remarry? I thought of Summer, divorced, convenient. That didn't matter. But definitely not now. The first time I met Summer was on my 10th birthday. My mother, rarely free, took me to a fancy restaurant. The dishes were expensive. My mother ordered only a few. Not far from us, a family of 3 laughed and chatted, while my mother and I sat in silence. The girl at their table, with her pretty princess dress and sparkling tiara, smiled constantly. Her father took picture after picture. Then he stood up to go to the restroom. His familiar face made my fork clatter to the table. My mother noticed, followed my gaze, then calmly turned away. "No," she said. "He's your father." When he returned to his seat, the girl ran to him, he hugged her, both their faces radiant. I shook my head. My father was always a blur, never close. When I tried to lean on him, he'd coldly reprimand me. Only later did I understand. He just didn't love me. Everything that felt distant, unattainable to me, was within Summer's grasp. I pretended not to know about Liam meeting Summer. Occasionally, I'd still catch the scent of roses on his clothes. Sometimes, Summer's social media photos would subtly, yet clearly, feature a part of Liam. I'd stare at those posts for a long time, then like them. But I never said a word. I maintained my calm facade. The only difference, I'd quit my job, become a full-time housewife, and started a diary. Every day, I wrote down my mundane routines and my physical state. I started having sleepless nights, my stomach constantly aching. Every day, I still cooked for Liam, but at mealtimes, I'd just stare at the food, no appetite. I visited my mother again. 10 minutes, as usual. Before leaving, when she wasn't looking, I slipped a bank card, with the password taped to it, into a book on her table. More than half my savings. This would be my last visit. My mother saw me to the door, her eyes lingering on my face. "Take care of yourself," she said. "You too, Mom." She didn't love my father, And she didn't love me. But she fulfilled her duty, raised me healthy. My father, I guess, got his karma, he went bankrupt. But my mother's luck turned. She remarried the man she loved, had a son. A happy family of 3. Tonight, Liam came home early. When I finished cooking, he was already there. The food on the table steamed. It had been a long time since we'd had dinner together. Since Summer returned, he'd been busier than ever. Liam had good manners, eat in silence, sleep in silence. I used to think it was fine, just sitting together, not speaking. Liam ate slowly. I took a few bites, my appetite gone. My stomach began to ache faintly. Just then, Nian came downstairs, slipping under the table. I put down my chopsticks. Liam glanced at me. I'm getting some food for Nian, I explained. Nian's room was on the 2nd floor, a small nest I'd made in the old storage room. Its bowl was empty. I poured more food. Nian wagged its tail, happily eating. I looked around, my mood lifting a little. The stomach pain flared, a sweet, metallic taste rising in my throat. I covered my mouth, looking down to see a blinding splash of crimson. Nian suddenly stopped eating, turning, nudging my leg, whimpering. I wiped the blood with a tissue, crumpled it, threw it in the trash. I knelt, stroking the dog's head. "Mommy's fine," I whispered. It whined again, then without finishing its food, nudged closer to me. A knock on the door. Liam stood there, looking at us gently. "Dinner, MIA." I really had no appetite, but I forced myself to finish. Liam went to the kitchen to wash the dishes. When he came out, he saw me playing with Nian on the sofa. He sat beside me. "MIA, I've been busy lately. When things calm down, how about we go to an island?" I stroked Nian's ears. "Okay." Going to an island with Liam had always been my wish. We were strangers when we got married, no honeymoon, just ordinary life. When we finally grew closer, I always thought a trip to an island would be our belated honeymoon. I never told Liam. But time doesn't wait. We never went. I caught him looking at me, tenderly. I pretended not to notice. "Next Wednesday, there's a party. Are you free? Come with me." I paused, then quickly recovered. "No, I won't go." Liam didn't press. He just nodded. My gaze stayed on Nian, ignoring him. Summer had just returned. She wouldn't miss an opportunity like this. If she asked Liam, he wouldn't refuse her. Nian lay on my lap, sighing softly. I stroked its head. Liam wouldn't think I'd show up at the party, the one where he'd bring his first love. But I went anyway. The party was dazzling. Men in suits, women dripping in jewels, swirling through the luxurious hall. I stood in a dark corner, a complete misfit, an intruder. Liam was easy to find. I'd chased him for over a decade, searching for him in countless crowds. He was tall, dressed impeccably. Beside him, holding his hand, a woman in a beautiful red dress, a blooming rose. Summer. I watched them through the crowd, laughing, chatting, like a couple destined by the heavens. Even though I'd anticipated this, seeing it with my own eyes was a gut punch. My heart hammered, a frantic drum, a vine of unease tightening, twisting, until it felt like my chest would explode. My mind fractured. Veins throbbed in my temples. But I did nothing. Just stood there, watching them hold hands, watching them smile and greet people. I saw someone approach Liam, pat his shoulder, point in my direction. Liam turned. I wasn't wearing a fancy dress. I was so thin. I hadn't dared look in a mirror for a long time, afraid of seeing my hollowed-out cheeks, my shrinking face. I knew he saw me. His face changed instantly, a mask of grim distaste. Across the noisy crowd, we just stared at each other. I just looked at him, no smile, no tears. I watched him change expression, pull away from Summer, try to move towards me. His steps through the crowd were difficult. And then, I suddenly smiled at him. Then, I turned and left. Back home, I went straight to the old study. My mind was a tangled mess, a knot I couldn't untangle. The vine around my heart tightened, tighter, as if it would burst in a second. Finally, I snapped. I swept everything off the desk. The crashing sounds echoed through the house. Not enough. I tore at books on the shelves, paper flying like an unseasonal snowstorm. Still not enough. I pulled down decorative items, cosmetics, smashing the handcrafted gifts Liam had brought back from his business trips. The urge to destroy mingled with rage, emotions flaunting their power. The floor was a chaotic wreck, just like my shattered life. When I came to, I was holding a pair of scissors. Nian whimpered at my feet, its bark sharp, urgent. I looked down at it. It suddenly quieted, its mouth open, tongue lolling out, like a goofy smile. The scissors dropped. Nian rushed to me, whining, then I knelt and pulled it into my arms. It burrowed its fluffy head against me, its small body warm. I held it, and suddenly, tears streamed down my face. All the fury, the destruction, offered no satisfaction, only a hollow black hole in my heart, a torment. When Liam came home, I'd already cleaned up the room. He wanted to talk. I sat on the sofa, smiling at him. I knew he wanted to explain, but didn't know how. 4 years with him. I'd been through so much with him. Liam wasn't good with words, but his logic was clear. Everything he said was ice cold. I'd taught him, little by little, how to deal with difficult clients, how to talk to old classmates. Now he was a pro at explanations. But when it came to me, he was silent. I used to think I loved him no matter what. Now, I wondered if he just had nothing to say to me. I smiled, cutting off his words. It's okay. I know Summer just came back. She doesn't have many friends. You want to help her, so you took her to the party. Liam's face changed. It's okay, I repeated, my voice gentle. I don't mind. Liam looked at me, saying nothing. Our eyes met. I kept my gaze soft. After a long moment, he finally looked away, and suddenly pulled me into a tight embrace, as if trying to embed me into him. I could barely breathe. His warm, masculine breath tickled my ear. "Maa," he murmured, intimately. "You've gotten so thin." I just smiled, didn't answer. The scent of sandalwood mixed with roses enveloped me. I fought back the nausea. The next morning, I still saw him off to work, as usual. I thought he was leaving, but Liam suddenly stopped in the living room. "Maa," he said softly. "I forgot to put on my tie." I sighed, went upstairs, picked out a tie. He didn't take it. He lowered his head. "Maa, help me." I tied it for him. He bowed his head obediently, waiting. When I finished, my waist was suddenly pulled forward. I stumbled, hitting his chest. I looked up at him. All my words died on my lips, replaced by the warmth of his. Liam squeezed my waist, kissing me fiercely, like a conqueror, tearing away his facade, driven by savage desire. When he pulled back, a faint red tinged the corners of his eyes. I just looked at him, saying nothing. He kissed my forehead. His lips curved slightly. "I'm going now, Mie." I smiled. "Goodbye." I had an appointment with Summer. 10 a.m. I arrived at the cafe on time, waited half an hour for her. Summer was beautiful, just as she was before my father went bankrupt, living a carefree life. Then he went bankrupt, and she married abroad. Now she was divorced, back home, with Liam helping her everywhere. Lucky her. Summer sat across from me, exquisitely made up, a sweet smile. My eyes were ringed with dark circles, my face gaunt, my complexion terrible. "Mia, why did you suddenly want to meet?" We weren't close. At most, we were just old school acquaintances. I didn't know why she could call my name so intimately. The fruit tea on the table was untouched. Its cold touch brought my reason back. "Did you order?" Summer's eyes drifted to the table, then she smiled and called the waiter. "An iced matcha latte, please." Actually, she ordered something else, but I felt this suited her better. "Thanks, Mie." She then propped her chin on her hand, looking at me, smiling. Liam loves iced lattes too. I never really liked them, but lately, I've found I do. I sipped my fruit tea, didn't answer. Summer's smile remained innocent, obedient. She was the one who'd told me she was divorced and back. Someone I hadn't seen in years, suddenly a direct, polite conversation. Yet her tone was subtly triumphant, as if she couldn't wait to tell me she was back to steal my husband. The taste of fruit tea faded in my mouth, leaving a bitter aftertaste. Summer's iced matcha latte hadn't arrived. Her eyes were still fixed on me. She saw me look up, and a strong smile played on her lips as she continued, "And I have to thank you." Smack. The sudden, loud sound echoed through the cafe. Customers craned their necks to stare. Summer's head snapped to the side, a red mark blooming on her pale face. She looked stunned by my sudden slap. She cupped her cheek, turning to me. "Me?" I didn't want to hear her say my name. One slap wasn't enough to shut her up. I picked up the fruit tea, lifted it over her head. The tea dripped down, slowly, along her hair, plopping onto the table, staining her white blouse. Peaches and seeds clung to her hair, clothes, and bag. Her non-waterproof makeup ran. Comically. She stared, stunned. Countless eyes in the cafe stared at us, observing every move. Her eyes suddenly welled up, a pitiful whimper, making her look heartbroken. "You." "Summer." I cut her off, coldly. "Stop your cheap act. You know why you're here. Don't play these games with me." A tear froze on her cheek, half fallen. "You came back for Liam, didn't you? You know he's good to you. You want him back, right?" I watched her, calm. Her face instantly went white, then she quickly recovered, pulling a wet wipe from her bag, slowly wiping the stains from her face. "Yes." Summer looked at me, slowly forcing a smile. Her voice was low. "Emma, you can't force love." "Oh, so the mask is off." I looked at her, suddenly laughing. "You're right, Summer. Want to make a bet with me? If you win, he's yours. I'll willingly step aside. You won't have to deal with being the other woman." Summer quietly looked at me, then calmly smiled. "Okay." When Liam came home, I was writing in my diary. I heard the door open, put down my pen, hid the diary in a drawer. Lately, Liam had been coming home early. Sometimes, at night, he'd walk near with me. Tonight, I was lying in bed, reading. He suddenly came closer, pulled me into his arms. I leaned into him, feeling his masculine warmth. He rested his chin on my head, reading the melodramatic romance novel in my hand with me. We read about the male lead supporting the second female lead, the second female lead slapping the main female lead, who then cried, screaming, "I'm your wife." His hand, wrapped around my waist, tightened a little. I turned the page, as if nothing had happened. The next development, the male lead helping the second female lead repeatedly suppress the main female lead, who suffered heartbroken, finally deciding to leave the male lead. The male lead regretted it, immediately started chasing his wife. A long, winding road, then a happy ending. I finished the book. It was past midnight. My sleeping pills were in the living room. I tried to move out of Liam's embrace, but he wouldn't let go, holding me so tightly. "Liam," I whispered. He answered, his head bowed. The room suddenly became very quiet. So quiet I could hear his heartbeat. "Emma," he buried his face in my shoulder, a hint of vulnerability. "You never used to call me by my name." I suddenly felt like laughing. Liam never called me Emma, only Ms. Shen, in a distant, polite tone. So we had both changed. I turned to face him, my arms wrapping around his waist, smiling. "Lee." He looked at me, his eyes scrutinizing my every emotion, then finally lowered his gaze, pulling us closer. "Emma." I never knew Liam could show such deep affection. But if he truly loved me, why did he care so much about Summer? It had been a week since I met Summer. Our wedding anniversary was approaching. Liam was getting busier and busier. The 100th day. 100 days. That's how long I'd been writing in this damn diary. Today also marked our anniversary, a date I'd casually mentioned once, and Liam, surprisingly, remembered. He came home early, spent the entire afternoon in the kitchen. I took Nian for a walk, and when we returned, the house was transformed. The aroma of food filled the air, intoxicating. Liam stood there, a soft smile playing on his lips, his eyes warm as they met mine. "MIA. Welcome home." Roses adorned the table, an old-fashioned record player spun a romantic melody, and beside a bottle of champagne sat 2 airline tickets for tomorrow. I looked at Liam, then at the tickets, and burst out laughing. The clock on the wall pointed to 8. The atmosphere was perfect. Until Summer called. She of the perpetually beautiful tears, the kind that make even crying look graceful. She sounded distressed, using the intimate nickname they shared, Lee. "I'm really not doing well. I'm here all alone, nobody I know. Can you come help me, Lee?" The romantic bubble popped. Liam looked at me. One glance was all it took. I understood. "MIA, I'm sorry. I'll take her to the hospital and be right back." "Can't you not go?" I asked. Just one simple question. Liam looked at me, saying nothing. The air instantly frosted over. I watched his smile vanish, replaced by the same cold, distant Liam from 4 years ago, as if we were still strangers. He averted his gaze, promising, "I'll be right back. I won't miss our anniversary." We seemed to be at an impasse. Finally, I let go. "Okay." Liam turned and walked to the door. I stood in the living room, watching his retreating back. He turned his head, and I smiled, just like countless times before, the picture of a dutiful wife. "Drive safe." I watched him disappear into the night. The record player was still spinning. I casually picked it up and threw it to the ground. The crash echoed loudly, then the living room fell silent. Liam wouldn't be coming home tonight. I knew Summer had won the bet, but I hadn't lost. I went to my room, locked the door, and pulled out my diary. I turned to the newest page, suddenly finding it impossible to write this final entry. My mind was a chaotic, jumbled mess, impossible to unravel. My stomach, my heart, felt like they were being minced by a knife. A sudden chill permeated me, a cold that seeped into my bones. My hand trembled as I held the pen, but I wrote, stroke by painful stroke. August 25, 2000. Today is our anniversary. Liam cooked for me, decorated the house. He was going to take me to an island. The anniversary celebration hadn't even begun, and Summer called. He left me again. I'll never go to an island now. Goodbye, Liam. Tears fell onto the paper, blurring the ink. But I felt no sadness. The tears were from pain. I lived for love, the love of others, and my own. Because no one truly loved me, I could only rely on Liam's love to survive. I had loved Liam so much. After being completely drained of all sincerity, I was nothing but an empty shell, like a dying candle. My last flicker of love for Liam died today. Watching the final drop of wax fall, I sat there, laughing joyfully, freely. My act was over. Why Liam? Why pretend not to see them together? Why give Summer this chance? What I gave Summer wasn't a vine to climb, but a sharp, pointed knife. The living cannot contend with the dead. It's okay if Liam doesn't love me, but he will never forget me. He wronged me. I want him to feel guilty, to regret it. I want him to read this diary, to feel my despair again and again, to brand into his mind the process of his wife's terminal illness, step by step, towards death. And what he did, in the end, to push me into that abyss of hopelessness. This absurd play, fueled by my death, would reach its climax. Next, it was Liam and Summer's turn. The sleeping pills caught in my throat. I swallowed, painfully, forcing them all down. On the table, not just my diary, but also the recipes I'd carefully written for him. His stomach wasn't good, and he was picky. For 4 years, I'd painstakingly perfected dishes that suited his taste. This was my last gift to him. I lay silently on the bed, hands clasped, slowly awaiting death. The room was quiet. Until I heard Nian's muffled barks outside the door, heavy, like something was constantly ramming against it. It was Nian, barking. Drowsiness began to invade my brain, my consciousness fading. Liam's reckoning. Liam was suddenly overcome by a great dread, as if he was about to lose the most important thing in his life. Just like that day at the party, when he saw MIA from afar, her face pale, her body frail, as if she would leave him at any second. Only one thought screamed in his mind. Keep her. Don't let her go. But she still left. A massive panic enveloped him. He even forgot why he was at the party. His gut churned. He stayed for over an hour, then rushed home, expecting MIA to be angry, jealous, to demand answers. But she wasn't. She just sat on the sofa, smiling at him, then in a voice so gentle, helped him diffuse the tension. The anxiety, far from being soothed, intensified. It's okay, Liam tried to reassure himself. Emma loves me. He knew Emma loved him, because she had always been so direct, so passionate, so sincere. He knew MIA would be understanding, would forgive him. So when Summer called, her voice choked with tears, using that familiar name, he agreed. MIA would understand. He took Summer to the hospital. His heart was always unsettled. Just as he was about to leave, she suddenly clutched his sleeve. Tears still fresh in her eyes, Summer, red-eyed, said, "Lee, can you stay and take care of me?" Liam wanted to refuse. He'd promised Mia he wouldn't miss their anniversary. But Summer just looked at him with those glistening eyes, her body frail, trembling slightly. It was late. He softened, again. Liam didn't return until dawn. The living room light was still on, casting a warm glow in the pre-dawn light. Liam quickened his pace, desperate to see MIA. He had broken his promise. But MIA wasn't in the bedroom. Not in the study. Not in her old private room. Nowhere. The food on the table was cold, untouched. In a corner of the living room lay shattered pieces of the record player, violently thrown to the ground. Only a few of her clothes and Nian's things were gone. Mia's mad, Liam thought. She's just mad. Gone on a trip. It's fine. When she cools down, it'll be okay. He'd wait a few days, then she'd come back, and he would apologize and explain everything. But days turned into weeks. Mia never returned. No one knew where she went. Her phone was off. Her colleagues said they hadn't heard from her since she resigned. Her mother said she'd seen her a month ago. Please tell her to pick up her bank card when she has time. I don't need her money. It's enough that she's taking care of herself. The middle-aged woman's tone was polite, yet distant. It was then that Liam sensed something was deeply wrong. The sense of dread returned, even stronger than before, like a vast wave crashing after a brief silence. Liam began to trace Mia's movements, checking her social media, her daily travel log. Mia's days seemed incredibly simple. Mornings spent walking and buying food, afternoons walking Nian. Day after day. Only occasionally would she drive to the hospital. Liam wasn't stupid. He wasn't naive. He was a fool. A series of actions. Connected. Sometimes, he'd wake up at night and see her leaning against the headboard, staring out the window, wide awake. He'd held her frail body, felt the heavy silence at the dinner table, seen her perpetually furrowed brows. Liam refused to believe it, because she never said anything to him. But because she never said anything to him, he couldn't not believe it. Liam searched for her for a long time, but Miss seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. No matter how he searched, he found nothing. A month and a half later, he received a strange call. The voice on the other end told him Mia had passed away. Mia died in a hospice on an island. By the time Liam arrived, her ashes had already been scattered at sea. He was met by Mia's hospice nurse, a young woman whose demeanor was cold towards him. In the room Mia had occupied, she handed him 3 notebooks. These are Ms. Shen's diaries, and some other records. The girl paused, then added, Ms. Mia wanted me to burn them all, but I felt Mr. Liam should see them first. Before she left, she looked at Liam, her eyes betraying an unmistakable coldness. Liam stayed in the room all afternoon. The sunset streamed through the window, bathing the room in warmth, but he sat there, feeling suffocated, as if his throat was being squeezed. It wasn't until past midnight that he opened Mia's diary. The details he had deliberately overlooked, the blood and tears hidden in the shadows, all the pain she had swallowed alone, thread by thread, wove into a sharp net, cutting his heart into tiny pieces. May 17, 2000. The doctor said I'm diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. His eyes held a hint of pity. Honestly, I didn't really hear much of what he said. In short, it's incurable. The doctor told me to get admitted as soon as possible. I don't want to. I don't like hospitals. The cold walls, the smell of disinfectant everywhere, the gloomy atmosphere. No one will stay with me. I wanted to call Lee, but I didn't know how to open my mouth. How do I tell him? Should I just say, I'm dying? No, better not. But Lee called. He said he had something tonight, would be home late. I suddenly remembered today was the day Summer came back. Lee went to pick her up, didn't he? May 18th, 2000. I went to Lee's office to bring him lunch. I saw Summer. She was still as beautiful as ever. The breakfast I made for Lee, she ate. I was furious. But then I thought about it. I gave it to Lee, so it's his. He can do whatever he wants with it. May 21st, 2000. I went to see Mom. I wanted to tell her, but after thinking about it, I felt it wasn't necessary. Mom is happy now. I shouldn't bother her. When I returned, I saw Lee and Summer, and a small dog. I wanted to keep it. The moment I said it, I saw Lee's face change. But I just wanted to keep it. The vet asked me its name. I just said, Nian Nian. MIA.
Niên niên.
Longing. Year after year. May 22nd, 2000. Last night, before bed, I asked Lee if his words still counted. If only I were foolish, I wouldn't have seen Lee's evasive eyes. Being let down by someone feels like swallowing 1,000 needles. May 25th, 2000. I scrolled through Lee's circle of friends and saw him in Summer's post. A party for young talents. His half-face in the bottom left corner. The caption read, "It's great to have a friend who's a business magnate." I thought it was great too. So I gave her a like. May 28th, 2000. It's been a few days since I adopted Nian Nian. The dog supplies I bought online arrived. I went to the pickup station. The owner had packed everything together. It was a bit much. When Liam came home, I asked him to help me pick up Nian Nian's package. He said okay, then turned and went to his study. He'll remember. June 1st, 2000. Children's Day. I spent the whole day playing with Nian Nian. On the way home, passing the pickup station, I thought about it and still went in to get the package. The staff at the station were very kind, even helped me load it onto the bus. Nian Nian's room is on the second floor. But I didn't wait for Liam to come home. June 7th, 2000. My sleep quality has worsened. I can't sleep. During the day, taking Nian Nian out, I passed a bakery. I remembered it had been a long time since I had dessert, so I bought a box of tiramisu. But when I got home, I suddenly lost my appetite. I used to love it so much, but now, looking at the whipped cream, I just felt nauseous. June 19th, 2000. Liam seems to be getting busier and busier. He always tells me not to wait up for him at night. After stepping out of my life, he frequently appears on Summer's social media. Sometimes, I envy Summer. When we were little, my father loved her. When we grew up, my husband loved her. After she divorced, my husband still liked her. But I seem to have nothing. June 25th, 2000. I'm completely sleepless all night. Wide awake. The illness is getting worse. Standing hurts, sitting hurts, lying down hurts. It truly hurts. I looked in the mirror, my complexion utterly awful. My skin faintly showed signs of yellowing. June 30th, 2000. Liam came home for dinner. It's been a long time since I've had a proper meal. I force myself to eat a bite, then throw it up. So I can only manage a tiny bit. I used the excuse of feeding Nian Nian, then threw up blood. I only ever saw female leads with terminal illnesses on TV, coughing and spitting out blood. The price of silence. A gasp, a spray of blood. In the movies, the pretty heroine collapses into her lover's arms, fragile and beautiful. Me. Not so much. My version of that dramatic moment. Just a cough, a splash of red. Honestly, compared to the constant pain and the endless nights of insomnia, spitting up blood felt like a minor inconvenience. On July 5, 2000, Liam asked if I wanted to go to a party. I said no. It had been ages since I'd looked in a mirror. Sleep was a foreign concept. Food a bitter enemy. This morning, brushing my teeth, I caught a glimpse of myself. A stranger stared back. Hollow cheeks, cheekbones jutting out, eyes bruised with sleepless nights, lips pale. I looked so much older. I was barely in my 20s, the prime of life. But it only got worse: emaciation, jaundice, stomach pain, nerve exhaustion. Joint pain became my constant companion, tormenting me to the brink of death. I didn't want to die ugly. On July 11, 2000, I broke my word. I went to the party anyway. Liam and Summer, a perfect match. If I hadn't been losing my mind, that thought wouldn't have even crossed my mind when I first saw them. Then Liam saw me. He started to come towards me, but I ran. I realized I was losing control of my emotions. If it weren't for Nian, I don't know what I would have done. July 18, 2000. Stomach pain, no appetite, vomiting. July 22, 2000. The scissors in the room. Blood. When I came to, I saw a gash on my arm. I quickly bandaged it. This wasn't the first time. Tomorrow, I'd go to the hospital for more sleeping pills. July 26, 2000. Stomach pain, vomiting blood. Eating only made it worse. I stopped wanting to eat. July 30, 2000. I lay in bed, in so much pain I nearly passed out. My consciousness returned, and I saw Nian by the bed, licking my hand. I stroked its head, picked up my phone. The first thing I saw: summer at the beach. Beautiful scenery. In the last photo, I saw Liam's hand, wearing our wedding ring. August 1, 2000. Pain. August 5, 2000. To the hospital for painkillers. August 15, 2000. I met Summer. She was so beautiful. It had been a long time since I looked in a mirror. I knew I was ugly now. August 20, 2000. The sleeping pills seemed to be losing their effect. The doctor advised me to be admitted. He said the pain would only get worse. I refused. I never intended to live till the end. August 25, 2000. The old words in my diary, crossed out. 2 new sentences. Shaneme died on this day, but Nian saved her. On August 25, 2000, I should have died. But Nian wouldn't let me. It barked, it whimpered, it made such a racket. So loud I couldn't sleep. So loud it drove me crazy. So loud I couldn't take it anymore. With the last ounce of my consciousness, I dialed 911. Hours later, I woke up. And 4 still in my arm. A nurse stood by my bed.
Nian.
She looked a little confused.
Nian es.
I pushed myself up, gripping the edge of the bed, but my body wouldn't obey. The nurse helped me. I want to go home. You're still very weak, you can't yet. I want to go home, I repeated, stubbornly, illogically, my eyes downcast. Nian isn't here. I have to find Nian. It was past midnight when I got home. Liam's messages still pinged on my phone. I didn't even look, just deleted them. The door opened, and the little white dog instantly bounded into my arms. Nian nestled against me, rubbing, licking. I held it, and suddenly, tears streamed down my face. All the suppressed emotions burst forth, like a dam breaking. I sat on the cold living room floor, holding Nian, and cried for a long time, until my eyes were swollen. Finally, I buried my face in its fur, uttering words only we could hear. Nian, let's go. I wanted to go somewhere no one knew. A place where there was only me, Nian, and love. Nian, in my arms, didn't seem to understand my words. It just looked at me carefully, then slowly, gently, licked away the remaining tears on my face. No one in this world loved me. But Nian was different. It would always love the one who brought it home. Nian would always love Shaneme. I rushed through the night to an island, settling in a hospice there. Life on the island was as good as I'd hoped. During the day, I played with Nian, chatted with the townspeople. In the evenings, I walked on the beach. I loved the ocean. The endless waves, the salty air. Just looking at the sea, somehow, my heart always found peace. I hired a young, beautiful, and capable nurse, Triu Min. After a few days, I told her things might get very difficult soon. She looked at me, and when I coughed up blood, she asked, "What's wrong?" "Pancreatic cancer," I said, casually wiping the blood and tossing the tissue. Triu Min's eyes turned red. I felt a pang of panic, not knowing how to comfort her. The young woman looked at me, tears falling. "Ms. Mia, you're only in your 20s. Her hot tears fell on my hand, stinging. "Why this disease?" Women often empathize more easily with other women, even if we've just met, even if she knew nothing about my life. She still felt sad for me. Honestly, I didn't feel that sad, because I was used to it. But when she carefully took my hand and gently asked, "Does it hurt?" I still cried. The disease had long tortured me beyond recognition. When I woke up, the pain woke with me, a constant shadow. I couldn't eat the foods I once loved. They tasted like ash. I dared not eat, because eating made the pain worse. The pain wasn't just physical. Insomnia led to nerve exhaustion. No one talked to me. I could only chew on this pain, day after day. Only Nian Nian was by my side. It couldn't talk, but when I was in distress, it would circle me, whining loudly. When I held it, it would quiet, gently licking my hand. I told Triu Min, "It hurts so much." My words were like a complaint, like a plea for comfort. Words I should have told my lover, but I had no one. I couldn't tell my father, because his only daughter was Summer. I couldn't tell my mother, because she was already someone else's mother. I couldn't tell Liam, because he was planning his future with Summer. In the end, I could only tell a stranger. I stopped treatment. Treatment was just prolonging the inevitable, extending the days of pain. I lived on painkillers and sleeping pills, thinning day by day. Occasionally, I'd look in the mirror. The person staring back, sallow-faced, gaunt, was unrecognizable as a young woman in her 20s. So ugly, I thought. My life was like a flower rapidly withering. I started losing the ability to walk. Triu Min pushed me outside every day to sunbathe, watching Nian Nian play on the grass. Sometimes, I'd ask her to push me along the beach, feeling the sea breeze. Nian Nian didn't care that I was ugly. It still wanted to kiss me, but I wouldn't let it. Triu Min didn't ask about my condition. She just chatted with me, telling me stories about her past, about random things. We talked about everything. One day, she helped me tidy my room and accidentally knocked my notebook to the floor. It fell open. She admitted she was curious. Bending down to pick it up, she glanced at the contents. The diary she saw was Shun Mia's secret love diary. Liam's name filled more than half the pages. In my 20s, my imagination was rich. Combined with things Ms. Mia often said, she pieced together a story of someone who had a crush for many years, then married him. The woman's past regrets. It wasn't until Liam appeared, rushing to claim my belongings, his wedding ring identical to mine, that Triu Min felt a sudden sense of bewilderment. If Mizima had married the person she'd loved for so long, why would she secretly come to this place to slowly await death? Why would she not want to see the man she loved, even in death? Triu Min couldn't understand. But instinctively, she disliked Liam. She refused him. But in the early morning, opening the door, she saw him standing in the yard. By the 5th day, Triu Min relented. Liam followed Triu Min to Mia's favorite spots, a park always full of people, a cafe on the corner, a road circling the island, and a beach. At the park, she played with Nian Nian. In the afternoon, she often sat in the cafe. The road around the island, she could walk on her own, no wheelchair needed. The beach was where she stayed the longest. She and Nian Nian would play until they were tired, then sit side by side, gazing at the sea, silent as sculptures. Liam wandered from place to place, imagining. 5 days later, he knocked on Triu Min's door again. He felt a strange unease. He hesitated, then spoke. "Ms. Triu, can you tell me a little about MIA?" Triu Min's face changed instantly. Her hand trembled on the doorknob. After a long moment, she said, "No." The girl, always so cold to him, was now agitated, her eyes red. "Mr. Liam, what do you want to hear?" How she struggled alone with her illness. How she died with no family, only a dog for company. Or how she couldn't bear the torment of cancer, suffering until she was no longer recognizable. Shinma never cried out in pain, but Triu Min had seen the throbbing veins and cold sweat on her forehead. When she died, Triu Min didn't cry. She took Nian Nian away. They said the dog wouldn't eat or drink, just curled up in a tiny ball in a corner of the house. Triu Min didn't cry, but watching a life ravaged by illness, watching her wither away, watching her suffer until she wanted to die, yet remain gentle and normal, watching a living person turn into ashes in her hands, how could she not be distressed? Such a life, yet nothing could save it. Triu Min's tears fell, drop by drop, uncontrollably. She wiped them away with her hand, her voice cold, red-eyed. So, Mr. Liam, when she was sick, suffering, where were you? Where were you? Liam thought, I was taking care of Summer. Liam stayed on the island for half a month. He rented a house, repeatedly sought out the man who had adopted Nian Nian. The man who adopted Nian Nian was a fierce, unreasonable, stubborn man. No matter how high Liam bid, the man wouldn't budge. He even picked up a broom several times to chase Liam away. Liam wouldn't give up. Kicked out today, he'd return tomorrow. After 7 or 8 days, the man couldn't take it anymore. He stood at the door, cursing at Liam. Then, he asked, "It's just a dog. Are you so idle you have to have it?" Liam stood there, like an elementary school student, silently taking the scolding. When he heard the question, he froze. A long silence. The man, annoyed, was about to go back inside when he suddenly heard Liam say, "It's my deceased wife's memento." The man stiffened, turned to look at him several times, then walked straight into the house. Liam stood silently at the door. A moment later, the man came out again, carrying the little white dog. The man handed Nian Nian to Liam. "Take good care of it. Otherwise, if you ever meet her again, she'll blame you." Nian Nian wasn't close to Liam. He took it home. Its bed and toys were still there, but Nian Nian only stayed in the room Shinmia had occupied. Liam knew why. The room was filled with her scent. The puppy curled up into a small ball, burying its head in her pillow, quiet and well-behaved. Day after day, nothing seemed to change from before. Liam still went to work, came home, ate, lived his life. Only Shinmia was missing. He was an adult. When he was hungry, he ate. When he was thirsty, he drank. When he was sleepy, he slept. One morning, Nian Nian slipped out when he opened the door. It ran off and disappeared. He frantically searched. Finally, at night, it returned. He saw it crouched at the front door, its eyes dark, then it lowered its head and whimpered twice. Liam picked it up, held it close, just as Shinmia used to. The lights in the house were off. In the darkness, Liam held Nian Nian for a long, long time, then sighed. "Mom won't blame you." But she didn't want to see him again. People at the company said Mr. Liam had changed. Instead of being colder, he had become gentler. Mr. Liam, who used to be so tight-lipped and cold-faced, recently, for some reason, liked to smile more. Often, for trivial matters, he would gently compliment you. Everyone at the company buzzed. If Mr. Liam wasn't married, that smile would truly steal my soul. What happened to Mr. Liam? Did someone possess him? He suddenly became a different person. No, a girl holding a coffee cup laughed. Mr. Liam was assimilated by his wife. His wife, Mrs. Liam, is a very beautiful woman. When she met us, she always smiled gently, and she was very good at connecting. Sometimes, when she came, we'd flatter her a little, but she never acted superior. She continued, "Mizma hasn't been here in a long time." Liam, passing the pantry, heard that exact sentence. Time, at that moment, suddenly paused. Liam stood at the door, unable to move. She will never come again. Nian Nian also ran out every day. Every afternoon, it would wait at the door for Liam. When he returned, it would run upstairs to Shinmia's room. Liam suddenly grew curious. What was it doing outside every day? He followed it. He watched it run around the park, find a sandpit, dig for a while, then leave, following the same path. It circled the neighborhood twice, then went home, crouched by the door, waiting for him. At first, Liam didn't understand. Until one day, in the park, a girl stroked its head and whispered, "Nian Nian, where's your mom?"